begin shortly. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. Pursuant to New Jersey statute and the rules adopted by the Board of Education, notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger and Cablevision of Elizabeth on Friday, October 6, 2017. In addition, this notice is posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of 500 North Broad Street. And pursuant to this act, a copy has been filed with the City Clerk of Elizabeth, New Jersey. We want to welcome you, everyone that is present here today at School 51, and to our television viewers, to this October 12th, 2017 meeting of the Board of Education. We are here to govern, provide management, oversight, and make policy for the district. The superintendent manages the district. This is a meeting of the public, of the board in public, not a meeting of the public. This meeting is being recorded and will become part of the Elizabeth Board of Education permanent record. In order that the recording will be adequately reflected, the proceedings, please refrain from talking while others are speaking. We also ask that you silence your electronic devices. Since it is legally mandated that these proceedings be accurately recorded, we may have to ask for order periodically should noise begin to interfere with our recording capabilities. We are pleased that you have taken time this evening to join us here for our Board of Education meeting. Thank you for your interest in the Elizabeth Public Schools. There will be a public portion for citizens to address the board. Participants for the public portion may sign in up to the start of the public speaking so that they may have the opportunity to speak. The sign-in sheets state the name, address, telephone number, and reason that the person wants to comment, whether it is an agenda item or a general education meeting. Mr. Kennedy, roll call, please.
Amin. Barbosa.
Here.
Bathalis. Here. Carvalho.
Here.
Gonsalves.
Here.
Nina.
Present.
Pereira. Rodriguez. Naron.
I ask that everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to salute the flag. Board Member Nina, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask that everyone please remain standing so that we may have a moment of silence for all of the victims in Vegas, Puerto Rico, and California. Thank you. Please be seated. Good evening, everyone. President Neron was unable to make the meeting tonight. He had a family engagement to attend to, so I will be conducting today's agenda meeting. I want to thank all of our directors for coming, and this is how we make things happen. So everything that we do tonight, we will agree to put on the agenda so that we can vote on next week. At this time, we will have public speaking. Citizens may address the board at this time. The microphones are open for public comments to those who have signed in prior to this session. I shall call individuals to the microphone based on the order of the sign-in. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. The total time of public comment shall be limited to 60 minutes. No individual is able to yield their time to another individual. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address a question a board member individually. The following rules for public participation shall apply. Time limits will be strictly enforced. No personal attacks on individuals. No vulgar or indecent language. A person may address the board no more than once during a single meeting. Speakers should refrain from naming individuals. Comments or questions posed during public participation will not be debated. As a reminder, this is a meeting of the board in public, not a meeting of the public. At this time, I would like to call Michelle Santos. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm here to speak on behalf of transportation for the second time. The first time I was here, I had mentioned that my daughter, who is special needs, is on a bus for over an hour with 22 neurotypical children. I'm sorry, it's 20. Nothing has been done and nothing will be done. And what it comes down to cost. Because I already gave a solution, and the solution is to cut the route in half. It has come to my attention as well that there is no camera on this bus. I was informed by special services that the Elizabeth Public buses do have cameras, the contracted ones don't. Now, it would be common sense that if you know you have children with special needs on buses, that you would give those routes to the ones that do have cameras. If something happens to my child, I will hold the schools responsible. Anybody here who has children, if something was to happen, they can explain to you what happened. My child cannot. And that's about it. I would hope that something is done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Santos. Elizabeth Uri. Elizabeth. We have a translator. Mr. Cuesta, can you please translate? Thank you. I ask that if you have something to give to us, please let us know that you're coming. We have security guards.
It's okay, Ms. Carballo, I don't bite. ¿Ya puedo hablar, verdad?
Espacio para que yo pueda traducir, ¿está bien? Póngase más cerca.
¿Tengo que hablar el micrófono?
Sí, sí, claro, claro.
Ok, mi nombre es Elizabeth Diauri.
No, alto, alto.
No, que no.
Can we lower that mic for her?
Ok, yo tengo un hijo que estudia en la escuela 15
I have a child who's at school 15,
y desde el año pasado yo estaba solicitando ayuda para el niño que tiene problemas de ADHD. Y tengo otros problemas, pero ellos no me demoran mucho para darme esa evaluación de mi niño.
Since last school year, I've been asking for help because I believe my child needs an evaluation.
Pidiéndome el resultado de los doctores.
They have asked me for the doctor's results.
Ya, este año desde el día que empezó a estudiar, todos los días que yo recibo llamadas de la escuela, me han tenido como asistente en la escuela. Hoy día igual querían que yo vaya, pero yo no fui. Entonces,
On the first day, they have asked me to go to school. She has gone a couple of times, but she was not able to go today.
Entonces, a mí me está causando muchos problemas. Todos los días llamadas, todos los días está orinándose en la escuela, en la ropa. Entonces, para mí es un problema muy grande y yo me siento muy, como dije, estresada con esto. Y mi trabajo, hasta ya me pueden botar el trabajo.
Every day they call me, I'm really stressed out, and I am afraid that I might lose my job.
Entonces yo quisiera que aceleren esa ayuda para mi hijo, para las evaluaciones.
So I'm asking that you do your best to help my child.
Okay, eso es todo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Mr. Cortez if you could please meet with Mrs. Yaudi and obtain the necessary details.
Thank you, Mrs. Yuri. Christina Morera.
Good evening, everyone. It's kind of low. All right. I just wanted to first and foremost thank the district for finally implementing and starting the CPAC. It was a long time in coming, and yesterday was the first meeting. I thought it went very well. I was very appreciative of the Director of Special Services, Diana Pinto-Gomez, for coming, and all the supervisors that came. I want to express a thank you to Commissioner Barboza for finally getting this off the ground and running. It was a very overwhelming day, as I'm sure she can attest to. We had a parent that was very emotional for the first meeting and her issues with her child and needing a place to be able to express her concerns. And I really hope that this will be the beginning of what it should have been all along. It's just unfortunate that it took a year and a lot of frustration to get it off the ground, but I'm grateful that it got done. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the recent bus accidents. We had 2 that happened in one day, and we have parents that don't know how to go about submitting claims. I did speak to Mr. Riggio about this. From what I've looked through the board policy, I did not see a board policy specifically for bus accidents. There is a board policy for accidents that happen in schools, but not for accidents that happen on a bus. So again, I think it is the board's job to implement policy, so hopefully that can be done if it hasn't already. And the other thing is, a lot of the parents that were involved in that particular accident were asking us on our page, where do we submit our claims? So I did mention to Mr. Riggio that parents should be given some sort of a procedure pamphlet as to what they do once they're at the hospital, once their kids are at the hospital. Okay, where do we submit these claims? Is it to the medical insurance? Is it to the car insurance? How much time do we have to do that by? Because nobody knew what to do, and it was confusing. And I didn't know where to direct them, so I would tell them to call Mr. Riggio and let him deal with that. The other thing that I've been talking about till I'm blue in the face here is the school trip situation. We keep going back and forth about this $250. Nobody really has an answer to give to the public as to why we still have to continue to pay these $250. Us, meaning the parents, a lot of times the teachers, that have to pay these $250 out of their pocket when it's really the shuffling of money from one account to another. So I really would appreciate some sort of an answer, some sort of a resolution to, or a compromise to the $250 that we have to pay for the bus trips. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Cologne.
Hello, good evening. I have a concern in regards to School 15. I received a call one day on a Monday regarding my son that I had to pick him up from school due to heat exhaustion. When I went to go pick him up at the school, it was probably over 90 degrees. Inside the office, there was a bunch of fans in a corner that had been removed from the classroom. My son, I ended up having to take him to the doctors, was diagnosed with heat exhaustion as well as dehydration. When I called, talked to the principal, the vice principal, we were told that all fans had to be removed from the classrooms. When I asked them why, they said that the board mandated that all fans had to be removed from the classrooms. My concerns are this: it's over 90 degrees. The kids cannot concentrate. They go into dehydration as well as heat exhaustion, which then we have to remove our kids from the classrooms. Our children are allotted 9 days to miss school. If we're taking them out of school and we have to keep them home the next day in order to rehydrate them and give them medications, then that affects their attendance. Why is it that the kids cannot have any type of ventilations in their classrooms, but all administrators get to have some type of cool air? It's not fair to the children, it's not fair to the teachers. We can't expect the teachers to sit here and teach a classroom full of kids that can't concentrate or focus. And I think my biggest concern is the medical aspect of it. We have to remove our kids, pick them up, and take them to the doctors, incur medical expenses. Can somebody explain to us why everything was removed? Thank you.
Ms. Colon, if you wait, we'll give you an answer. If you wait. So I'd like to begin with the initial concern that you expressed with regard to the concern with the fans being removed from the classrooms. It's actually the board's protocol with regard to all, not only personal fans, but also whether there's a toaster in the oven, whether there's a refrigerator. Those items are not allowed to be in a classroom as per the Department of Education. What is allowed is a fan to be provided by the Board of Education, but there are hazards associated with a personal fan. Whether it is the cord, whether it's the functioning of that fan, we do not have any assurance that those fans are functioning properly, and quite frankly, in accordance with the Department of Ed, we're not allowed to allow a personal fan to be in the classroom. With regard to heat exhaustion, we were in communication with the school nurse at School 15. We did not have any children that presented the symptoms of heat exhaustion. I understand that you took your child to the doctor to have the child examined. Our classrooms were being monitored on a regular basis. The process is the head custodian is in regular communication with the principal and basically taking the temperature of the classrooms. When the temperature is at a certain level, the process is to ensure that the children are then brought to the cooling area of that building. So in all of our buildings, for those that do not have air conditioning in every classroom, either the cafeteria or the multi-purpose room is air conditioned. And generally what occurs is the children are in the classrooms in the morning, and then in the afternoon, those classes are brought down into that area, which is typically the warmer part of that day, so that they can be in a cooler environment. This is the process that was confirmed to me by the principal of the school with regard to ensuring in the afternoons the children were brought down to the to that cafeteria. Question that you have posed with regard to the attendance and in terms of whether that would be held against the child in terms of the 9 days, that is taken into account. So there's an attendance committee at each of our schools, and parents are providing those medical notes with regard to the justification for which the child was absent, and that is taken into account, so it does not hurt the child in terms of their overall attendance for the year.
Okay. And I agree to disagree because you said that you guys have spoken to the principal in terms of protocol and that they're removing the children from the classrooms and putting them in there, as well as the nurses calling them with, saying that there is no heat exhaustion. If the nurse is calling us, telling us that your son is dizzy and not feeling well, or that they're about to faint and stuff like that, those are symptoms of heat exhaustion. Obviously, she's a nurse, she's not a doctor. You would have to take the child to the physician, and the physician would confirm those diagnoses. In this case, the children, at least in my son's class, were not removed. They were there until, the end of the day. Like I said, I obviously had to go pick up my child from the school because of that nurse call. So in terms of the nurse saying there is no heat exhaustion, I can beg to differ that because both my son and his best friend were removed because we were called from the nurse. So that is a big concern.
Ms. Colon, if you can make your way around to one of the assistant superintendents, if protocol was not followed, we will follow up and make sure that it never happens again. And I apologize if that did happen to your child. Thank you. Michelle Villa? Assistant superintendent's here. I think Mr. Cortez is School 15.
Hi, I'm
evening.
one of the parents that got called. I have 2 kids. One of them had the heat exhaustion. The other one could not breathe. My daughter could not breathe. I had to take her to the doctor, had heat exhaustion, and she was diagnosed with, what is it? Yes, asthma. She has asthma, so. My question, you removed the fan, that's fine. But when are you going to give them fans? When are you going to give them? I was told that 3 fans were given, no fans were given. The principal told me to my face that you guys did not give her 3 fans. You were supposed to give it to the upper grades, which my daughter is in, and she assured me after I spoke to the office that she did not receive them. So I just want to know when you're going to give the appointed fans out.
Mr. Cotto? Fans.
Speak on the mic because the public can't hear you.
Please be respectful.
Hello? Yes, when School 15 requested fans, we did not have any available.
I was advised that you gave 3 fans and you put an order in so we can receive more in March. Is that not true? I called the superintendent office myself. And I was told.
We typically would not have given out that information with regard to confirming orders.
It was
and
given to me.
Then we would need to speak to you further with regard to
That's fine.
who
And also,
provided
do you
that
need
information.
the doctor's notes from my kids?
That would go to the school. That would be provided to the principal. She would review those.
Okay.
Ms.
Certainly.
Villa, if you can make your way around to see Mr. Cortez also and give him all of your information. And if you have time today and you want to sit through the agenda, I think you will be happy to hear some of the things that we are doing at School 15. Thank you. Maria Lorenz?
Good evening. Can this be adjusted? I'm super tall, sorry.
Or pull it out.
I've been blessed with height. Good evening. I come here today because there are few issues in special education, and I just want to remind the board of some of the comments that were made, and you can look at them through your minutes. In 2015, Madam Vice President, you stated that you promised parents with special needs that you were going to help them. In 2016, Commissioner Goncalves, that you have a passion for programs for kids with special needs. Ms. Battle a standard for equality for all children, particularly special needs. And Mr. Neron, transportation and special needs, that he does a very serious assessment. In 2017, again, Ms. Carvalho, you stated that special services gets involved when it's a special needs class. That was a question that you asked, kind of rhetorical. Mr. Neron, in Visiting Tuesday, said that it was important to show support to families as well as students of special needs. Ms. Batalis also recognized my buddy program. Mr. Neron ignored the comment that it should be put forth to the Special Ed Committee. I want to mention how disgusting it is that the majority of you use our pain and our struggles so that you can benefit politically by saying that you care. I'm going to tell you how much you care. You care so much that in 3 years, you mentioned special needs or special education a total of 7 times. That's how much you care. And you ran on that platform, okay? Now, you're running for a 2nd term. Some of you have sat here for over 6 years and yet have failed to mention or do anything for special needs. And you've mentioned it again 7 times in 3 years. But we all like to run on that platform. You promised, Ms. Carvalho, that you were going to help special needs parents, and yet I've never seen you help those parents. As a matter of fact, one of the cases I gave to you, I ended up finishing for you because you didn't see that one through. I find it appalling that in 3 years of sitting here, you were asked if special services gets involved when it's a special needs class. This is a redundant and a rhetorical question, and I think that you would have learned something, all of you would have learned something in 3 years, 1 year, 6 years that you've been sitting here. I mean, you're only making life-changing decisions for our kids, right? So what is it? Just a simple vote. Saying that you support, you're passionate, and you care is more than just saying it. It means that you also do it. And you don't say it just to win a few more votes. If it took 6 years to get a commissioner that actually cares, so I definitely want to recognize Ms. Barbosa for actually stepping foot in the classroom, seeing the kids, and talking to the teachers, because she's done more in less than a year than all of you that have been sitting here trying to run for re-election or have sat here. So thank you so much, Ms. Barbosa, for that. I appreciate it. It took 6 years for us to get you to sit and stand in the classroom versus your colleagues that have done very little for it. In addition to that, Madam Superintendent, I want to bring this to your attention. I was very offended when I saw a flyer go out, a flyer of Ms. Carvalho inviting people to come to a disaster relief fund. You know why I'm offended? Because she's not a sole member of this board. Because there are other
Thank you,
people
Ms.
that
Lorenz.
sit on this board.
Thank you, Ms. Lorenz.
Okay, and it's a collective effort.
Thank you,
So
Ms.
I want
Lorenz.
to know who actually
Thank you,
went
Ms.
ahead
Lorenz.
and said that that was okay.
Your time is up, Ms. Lorenz. Thank
I
you.
understand. Ms.
Case on
Williams,
Little.
I still need an answer to Ms. Carvalho's ethics. and
Mr.
her
Glacken,
failure of non-disclosure. I waited
Case on Little.
Honestly, it's fine for you to stand up and say all these things and talk louder and louder. I called you 4 times and left message. That is a lie. You're a liar. You are a liar.
All right, order.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Excuse me. Ms. Lorenz. Ms. Lorenz. Thank you, Ms. Lorenz. Case on Little.
Absolutely not. We are here to represent the students,
evening,
parents,
Mr.
and taxpayers.
Cason.
Good evening, esteemed members of the board. Before I begin the topic of my speech tonight, I just would like to have a moment of silence of a former student that just recently passed away, that was killed this past Sunday. So if you could just bear with me for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. I am here tonight to speak on the issues of no air conditioning in our schools. There are currently 22 schools here in Elizabeth that do not have air conditioning in our schools. That is not a safe environment for students to receive a well-rounded and quality education in at all, nor is it an environment for educators to teach a quality and well-rounded education. So my question is to my current Board of Education members is what will we do to resolve this issue so that way students, A, won't have to suffer from nosebleeds, B, won't have to suffer from dehydration, and C, won't have to leave early from instructional time that is being given from these educators on a daily basis. This is not a safe environment at all. This is unhealthy and it is not safe. I am just in complete shock and to see when will we care for the students, the ones who do have the biggest stake in this district. You are here to represent us. We are here to hold you accountable. You are not here to hold us accountable. So I hope I can receive an answer tonight before the meeting is over in regards to what kind of avenue can we take in getting this whole situation resolved. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Take care.
Mr. Little, if you could come back. We actually have 12 schools that don't have air conditioning, which all have cooling centers that we have installed so that, because the safety of our children, which is you, is the most important thing for us. And we are working towards bringing all of our air conditioning to all of our schools, but that has to be budgeted, and we will do it. And we are working towards that. So I hope that you have, and I understand, I have children in this school system. I have a son who's in a school without air conditioning too, who comes home and complains just like you. I think he's only a year older than you. So please understand that we are working so that you can get the best education possible and to keep you safe. Thank you. Priscilla Borges. I'm sorry? No, sir, 12. Priscilla Borges?
Good evening. I'm here basically, same thing, School 15 air conditioning and about your cooling centers. That's not safe for the kids. Because if they're in a hot classroom, they bring them downstairs to cool down, bring them back up to the heat. That's not safe either. So that's not the solution. Solution would be installing fans. They can't even open the windows because it's not safe for the kids either. So there has to be something that could be done. Because we were there for parents' night and it was 6 p.m. and it was 89 degrees in the classroom. Second floor. Third floor was even hotter. So something has to be done. That's all I can say. I have 3 kids, and all 3 of my kids had to be taken out of school for 3 days from heat exhaustion.
Thank you, Ms. Borges. Salam Isra.
Judy, can you meet with the parent, please? Because we need the documentation on the
Good
heat
evening.
exhaustion, please.
Good evening, members of the board. Salam Ismail, Director of National United Youth Council Incorporated. Just to respond to Kaysan Little, a student, a former student, another former student here at the district who was shot dead just a couple of days ago. And I came before this board a number of times about various proposed efforts to address the issue of gun violence awareness and what have you. And I submitted a couple of proposals, as well as even had a youth summit to even assess the ideas from young people themselves. I have a team of people who are working in other districts around the state around this issue. And I don't see the enthusiasm of what we have proposed to this board over and over again. I hear about this going to one day be a part of the agenda, but it have not happened. I even asked her, let's sit down and hear my ideas. I'm retiring after 35 years, December 31st this year, as director of the National United Youth Council. My son is going to take over. He's not going to be as quiet as I am now. So I'm hoping before the year's out that I get to sit down with the superintendent and respectfully, smiles is not enough for me, superintendent, when I ask over and over again about, and we agree that we're going to have the Youth Fest in October. Well, October is almost gone. It didn't happen. I've been very, very cordial and respectful to this board. I never brought in hundreds of people with picket signs, which I'm known for over the years. Mr. Questa knows about that. I haven't done that. I met with the mayor playing golf in his office this afternoon, talking about what I'm going to say to you guys today. I'm hoping before I leave here, I can meet with a committee of the board, or maybe sit down with you, superintendent, and work out these ideas that have been presenting and that have been accepted by President Stan Neron over and over again. And I hope that's the case. There's an issue of young people with behaviors who are being suspended and what have you. I have a couple of experts want to come in and try to help address that issue. So this organization have a team of folks willing to help and partner with the schools on various these other issues that affect them in the school and when it comes out to the community. Lately, there's been a lot of black boys dying. Don't let me think it's not that important, because black boys are dying, and there's not I hope that's not the case. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, as I walk to my seat, I will hear something from you guys. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't you come around and speak to Assistant Superintendent Cuesta, so that we can have all of this, the information. I know that we've been working on programs with President Neron. If you could speak to Assistant Superintendent, thank you. Amo Teixeira. Good evening.
Necesito un traductor, por favor.
We're losing them one by one. Yes, we're waiting for someone to come back in. All three.
So I'm going to ask Dr. Marchetti if she could please translate for us.
Thank you, Daphne.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas. Good evening.
Tenía esto preparado, pero no. Esta no es la primera vez que yo vengo para hablar sobre el aire acondicionado en la escuela 15.
This is not the first time that I'm here to discuss the issues at School 15 with air conditioning.
Cuando vine la primera vez, me dijeron que era bastante difícil hacerlo porque el sistema eléctrico había que actualizarlo.
The first time I came, I was told that it would be a difficult task because of the system, the electrical system in the school.
Pero nunca se me informó de que sí había cierto tipo de ventiladores que se podrían usar, no proveídos por los padres, pero por el board.
But I was not told that there would be specific fans that would be allowed, not given by the parents, but by the board.
Eso fue en el año 2014, estamos en el 2017, y es solo hasta ahora que nosotros sabemos eso.
This was back in 2014, now we're in 2017, and we were not informed of that information back then.
Si ustedes, el board sabe de esos ventiladores que se pueden suministrar en los salones, porque solo hay que esperar a que la escuela lo pida. ¿Ustedes no se dan cuenta del calor que hacen en las escuelas?
If you were aware of the situation and you knew that they could only be provided by the board, why did you not provide them?
Si ellos no se dan cuenta del calor que hacen las escuelas.
Are you not aware of the heat in the schools?
No solo para los niños, sino para los maestros. Es imposible estar ahí. Cuando nosotros estamos en la escuela con los días de calor, los niños sufren mucho, los padres estamos ahí 1 hora para una reunión con un maestro o algo, y es imposible, no se puede estar así.
Not only for the children, but also for the teachers, it's impossible to be there. Us as parents, we've been there for conferences for an hour, and it's very impossible to be in the school.
Quisiera saber cuáles son los procedimientos para solicitar esos ventiladores antes de que llegue el verano, para que ustedes tengan el tiempo de aprobarlo y seguir el protocolo para que cuando venga marzo, abril, mayo y los meses siguientes, nuestros niños no sufran tanto.
So I'd like to know the protocol in order to ensure that you're able to process the fans that would be necessary before the heat comes in March, April, May, or June.
Solamente les pido eso nada más, que nos informen a los padres, porque nosotros estamos para nuestros hijos, ustedes están ahí por nuestros hijos, por los maestros que están enseñando a nuestros hijos. Si ustedes no cooperan con nosotros y nosotros no cooperamos con ustedes, nunca vamos a funcionar.
That's all that I'm asking of you, to please cooperate with us.
Porque ellos están ahí para los niños.
You are here to help the children and for the children, so therefore if you could provide the assistance to ensure this happens.
Si ellos no cooperan con nosotros y nosotros no cooperamos, no podemos trabajar juntos.
If you don't cooperate with us and then we don't cooperate with you, we won't be able to work together.
Gracias.
Thank you. So if I may, Dr. Marchetti, if I could ask you just to translate for the parent, I'm just going to provide a response. So I would like to share with our community that the reason for which we only have 12 buildings left without air conditioning is because each year the board, this board, discusses incorporating into the budget, working with Mr. Cotto in Plant and Property to ensure that we are putting air conditioning in our schools each and every year. There is a plan for all of our schools to have air conditioning. So please do not feel that you are being ignored, that you are not being attended to. Each and every year we are expanding and we are providing air conditioning to our schools. So we have 36 schools at this present time. I think it's a huge accomplishment for the board to have only 12 schools left and continuing each year to add schools and accommodating them as best possible. Oh. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Lo que a mí me preocupa es el tiempo de espera. How long we had to wait until we got that?
I understand. I understand that. And the information will be provided shortly with regard to the next steps for the schools coming up.
So, nuestra directora, nuestra principal, ¿tiene el protocolo para solicitar esos ventiladores? ¿O cómo hacemos para hacerlo? Para tenerlos.
What I'm addressing is the air conditioning in our schools and the fact that we've been adding air conditioning each and every year to our buildings. I understand your question with regard to what is the protocol. There is no protocol required on the part of your principal. Our Department of Plant and Property is aware of the conditions and that you have referenced, and there isn't something in particular that your principal has to do.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Giovanna La Rosa.
Good evening. Sorry, this mother needs speaking too, so I don't know if you allow to her to speak.
So she would like to say it first in Spanish so that the parents can hear her, that understand Spanish, and then have me translate.
La razón que estoy aquí es por lo mismo que estos padres han venido representando a la escuela 15, Christopher Columbus.
The reason why I'm here is for the same reason as the other parents, the issues at School 15, Christopher Columbus.
Nosotros entendemos que la situación de la escuela no es las mejores para poder proporcionar un sistema de aire acondicionado central.
We understand that the system in the school is not the best in order to have the air conditioning system installed.
Pero lo que sí no entendemos es de que se limite a nuestros hijos al poco sistema de ventilación que obtienen con los fans que los profesores tenían en las escuelas.
But what's difficult to understand is the inability to use the fans that the teachers had in the school available to them.
Entiendo, como usted dijo, Mrs. Superintendent, que eso fue un código de salud o de seguridad, pero entiendo también que este código creo que no se realizó este año, sino ya estuvo hace muchos años atrás.
I understand that you're following the rules as far as safety and health. However, this is something that has been in place for years.
Entonces, ¿por qué razón este año se fueron a retirar los fans de las escuelas, teniendo todo el tiempo de verano para implementar o colocar los correctos y debidos por seguridad?
So why is it that this year they were removed when you had the entire summer to remove them from the building? To be in accordance with for security reasons.
Porque si bien es cierto que algunos fans son peligrosos para los estudiantes por los cordones, también existen los fans que se pueden montar en las paredes. Y eso se pudo haber solicitado o avisado a los padres, porque cuando los fans estuvieron ahí, tuvieron autorización previa de ustedes.
Because if the fans, she understands the fans, the cords is an issue, but you could have installed the ones in the on the walls, which would have avoided that issue, and you would have also been able to inform the parents in the summer.
Algunos fans, como la señorita no pudo explicar, se pidieron autorización y se aprobaron. Si esos fans no cubrían el código de seguridad, ¿por qué se aceptaron? O si vieron que eran inseguros, ¿por qué no dejaron saber que necesitaban el modelo y el tipo que se requiere bajo ley?
If the fans were not up to code or were not approved as a result of safety issues, why were we not notified so that we could have requested for the appropriate fans to be installed in the school prior to school starting?
Yo encuentro bastante inhumano de parte de ustedes, que son los que representan a nuestros hijos, que a pesar de que ellos pasan calores no teniendo ventiladores centrales, les quiten el poco aire que provee esos fans.
I find it inhumane that you take away the fans when it's the one thing that, the one way that they're able to obtain some sort of ventilation for the students. to be able to provide to the students.
La información que ustedes han obtenido acerca de la enfermera, no sé qué tan verídica sea, porque hubo muchos estudiantes enfermos, muchos momentos que yo misma tomé fotos que las ambulancias estuvieron ahí y hasta mis hijos estuvieron mal. Yo no sé qué tanta realmente conexión real tienen entre la información de escuela, padre y ustedes. Pero si realmente quieren saber la verdadera información, pregúntele a cada padre, que de ahí van a sacar la verdadera razón. Gracias.
Thank you, Ms. LaRosa. I'd like to ask a question. There was an ambulance?
Yes, I can speak to that. So there was an ambulance that reported to School 15, and it had no relation to any issues concerning the heat in the building. It was a medical condition that the child had, and I cannot go into further details, but it's regarding an ailment that the student had, not related at all to heat.
Thank you. Reina Clavel?
Can I ask Mr. Cortez, please come up now? I think Dr. Marchetti has already translated twice.
Buenas noches. Yo soy madre, mi niño tiene 6 años, a la edad de 3 años me lo diagnosticaron con autismo.
She has a 6-year-old son who is autistic.
En el Specialist Hospital Mountainside. Me le han dado las terapias hasta la edad de 3 años. El niño mejoró mucho.
The student received therapy in Mountainside and has improved vastly.
Comenzó el primer año de clases en la escuela. Me le dieron las terapias solo ese año. De 2 años hacia acá, suspendieron las terapias.
His therapy has been suspended for the past 2 years. 2 años.
Fueron 2 años de terapia de speech.
He received 2 years of speech, and then the speech therapy was suspended.
El año pasado no recibió más. Mi hijo necesita. Él no tiene comunicación. Él no sabe expresarse de decir lo que le pasó un día antes, lo que pasó en la escuela. Él, si estamos conversando de algo, le hago una pregunta, él responde otras cosas.
Her son struggles to communicate, struggles to comprehend what people are asking for him, so he needs a speech therapy to assist with this.
Él está en la escuela 26. El martes, hace 8 días, mi hijo yo lo recibí a las 3 de la tarde. Yo le pago el RAI, lo recibí golpeado. No me llamaron qué es lo que pasó con mi hijo. Cuando yo lo vi, mi reacción, ustedes como madres, al ver a su hijo golpeado, no le llaman. ¿Qué es lo que sucedió?
So, her son attends school 26. He arrived home with an injury. She did not receive a phone call from the school.
Estas son las fotos de mi hijo. Lo que los demás niños dijeron que mi hijo fue, otro niño lo empujó.
She states that other students noted that he was pushed by other students.
Fui al siguiente día a hablar con el principal. Él me dijo que no sabía nada.
She says she spoke to the principal and he stated that he was unaware of the incident.
Este señor dijo que iba a hablar con la enfermera y la profesora, porque en el grado hay 3 niños con el mismo nombre de mi hijo. Entonces, mi hijo no supo decir su nombre completo, estaba golpeado, inflamado, no podía hablar, no tomar agua, no podía comer. Él solo dijo que se llamaba Alexander.
She states that there are 3 other students who have a similar name to her son, and because because he had a swollen lip, he was really unable to communicate his name.
Esto sucedió esta semana pasada. El año pasado, igual, en la misma escuela, él llegó con un golpe en la cabeza.
He said this incident happened last week, and last year she also had a similar incident where he was bumped on the head.
Yo le pregunté a mi niño qué pasó. Él lo que me dijo que estaba sentado y que otro niño llegó y le golpeó con la cabeza. Fui a la escuela, la respuesta que me dieron ellos que ellos estaban jugando y que fue un accidente. Mi niño sé que no va a mentir. Y mi niño también me dijo el nombre del niño que lo empujó esta semana.
She asked her son what happened. She states that another student hit him with his head, and she believes her son would not lie about this incident.
Ahora yo me pregunto, si nosotros damos nuestros hijos a la escuela y ellos no se responsabilizan de lo que está pasando y dar solución a estos problemas, esto va a seguir dándose, del día de mañana va a ser otro niño y van a ser problemas más grandes si no le dan una solución.
She feels that these matters need to be resolved because she fears that they can continue and they can affect other students.
¿Qué está pasando con las escuelas?
So I would like to ask Dr. Cedeno, who's in charge of
Thank
school
you.
number 26, to please meet with the parent. We will be properly investigating this matter, speaking to the teacher, speaking to the classroom assistant, as well as others in the building, so that we can ensure that we have all the facts surrounding this situation.
Thank you. Barbara Hernandez?
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ms. Hernandez.
I just have a couple concerns. My daughter goes to Thomas Jefferson, and we went to back to school night. We met with the teachers. The ratio of the teacher-student. My daughter started out the first week. She told me that her classroom was between 31 to 38 students. I met with Mr. Ojeda, and I brought it up at the PTO meeting because I'm a PTO parent, and he assured me that there's absolutely no way that there was 38 students. So he looked up my daughter, and he said, oh yeah, at the beginning of the school, you know, one of her classes, which was algebra, was 38 students. Now mind you, my daughter's teacher is probably not even 5 foot, maybe 120 pounds. My concern is we're living in such crazy times. My concern is safety with lockdown procedure, shelter in place. Can one teacher handle 31 students? Can 31 students actually react to an emergency? And I find it a little bit unfair for the teachers. At the end of the year, they have mental breakdowns because they're grading so many papers, they're going through so many classes, different classes. So my main concern is, what is the actual ratio in a high school environment for teacher and student? My daughter, all her classes are between 28 students to 33. And I find it really unfair. My taxes are super high. She's an honor roll student, but that's because of me. That's because of the type of parent I am. I push her, I check her homework, I'm in power school, I go to the schools, I let it know who I am. And of course the teachers, but in reality, when my daughter is stuck, there's 28, 29 other students probably stuck in the same situation she is. Can she properly get her questions answered, or does the teacher, can the teacher give her 3-4 minutes out of her time because she has to split herself into 28, 29 students? So can someone answer what's the ratio in the high school? And I know Elizabeth is overpopulated, and I know you guys are building mega schools, but I think that issue has to be properly addressed in certain categories: safety, teachers, proper education, and time. Thank you.
So I will gladly look into, I will gladly look into the ratio for your daughter's classes. You stated that your daughter reported 31 to 38 students. We will certainly look at that. The typical class average at the high school level hovers around 25, 26 students. With regard to safety, I wanted to address that as well. So as part of our protocols, we have monthly drills that are conducted in every single school as required by the Department of Education. So this ensures that not only the teachers are well informed with regard to protocols, but also the students are well aware of the different types of drills and what is required in terms of that. I could assure you in terms of safety and security, we're training folks very well. Our students are very well versed. I certainly hear your concern with regard to the class size, so we will certainly sit with Mr. Ojeda and review the numbers that he had, and you mentioned at the beginning of the school year, but you believe that to still be the case right now. You're concerned with the total number of students, absolutely, and the ability to provide that individualized attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. At this time, we will start to go through the agenda. At this time, I close the public comment portion of this meeting. I want to thank everyone who came out this evening to speak. All of your questions and concerns do not fall on deaf ears. Thank you. At this time, we will begin to go through the agenda process. Tab 1A. Any questions or concerns to last month's meeting? Seeing none and hearing none, Mr. Kennedy, please put them on the agenda. Tab 2A, Personnel Report.
On page 12 and page 16, I would like to remove the last item on page 12 and the first item on page 16.
If I may provide clarification, it was just an adjustment in the HR system with regard to how it is that these individuals are referenced. They are not actual transfers, they are corrections with regard to their location.
Board Member Bathlis is asking to table.
Remove. Yeah, I asked to be removed, but Olga's telling me that it was already done. It's already done.
Yes, these were previously approved 2 months ago at our board meeting. If I may give an example, the building that was, the TCUs that were previously referred to as 5A are now part of school number 22. So the TCUs that are directly across from the Bulwich Finance Academy are no longer 5A. They are now referred to as 22A. Following the opening of School 22, those TCUs now report to that building.
Okay, so then for page 12, the last
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, so the same situation.
Does that mean that it went through and it happened and the board members here did not approve that transfer?
No, the transfer was approved, but in the minutes it appeared as 5A and the transfer was 5B. So the individual listed there is actually at 5B, but in the review of the HR system and looking at where folks are assigned, it's a correction.
So this was a typo?
Exactly. Thank you, yes.
So at the next board meeting, are we going to be approving the last agenda that approved this transfer?
No, that was already board approved 2 board meetings ago. I believe that was the August board meeting in which those transfer had been approved. This is just the reconciliation of the personnel department to ensure that everyone is properly listed at their current locations.
Still have a question. I still have a question, Olga. So if we
decide not to approve it, though, does it affect the situation of the teacher at the location?
Those
Or the principal
individuals
in
had
that
already
case?
been transferred. If you don't approve it, what you are actually approving is not to have those TCUs referred to as School 22A. So that's what the action is. It's not moving a person, it's actually the renaming of the TCUs. What was formerly 5A is now 22A.
And that means that for page 12,
Yes.
in the HR system, it won't be correct.
Exactly.
It would just remain as the 5A instead of what it needs to be as 5B.
Exactly, exactly correct.
I have another question.
Commissioner Barbosa?
So all the schools are labeled here, and then you see, by last name, substitutes. Why is that? Why did everything get posted again?
May I ask what page?
Oh, here, let's use.
Thank you.
We apologize, these are new mics, we're getting used to them.
Yes.
For example, page 47. That's just the page I flipped. I know that it's consecutive school programs.
Yes, so for page 47, that is actually referring to an after-school program. So we are required to list the individuals that will be working the program, and then we're required to list all of the substitutes that have applied to work the program. So in the event that one of the teachers is absent and one of these subs works, payroll department would be able to verify with the minutes that the individual was approved to work. It's a very tedious process, and hence the length of the hundreds of pages that you see before you. But our payroll department has that as a requirement so that they can ensure that individuals have been board approved to work.
What happens if we don't want to put one of these changes on the agenda for the naming of the number of, the school number?
It simply would remain in the HR system as 5A. It just would not reflect that it's now 22A. That is simply what it would translate to.
Any other questions or concerns on 2A? Seeing none, Mr. Kennedy, please put that on the agenda. Tab 3, Superintendent of Schools recommendations for approvals of the following. Any questions or concerns? Commissioner Barbosa?
Tuitions homeless report. So those are our students that are out of district?
Director?
Our director is not here this evening. She had a prior engagement. So these are homeless students. It could be a student that is residing in district or could be in an out-of-district placement.
Am I correct to say that a child can not live in Elizabeth and still come to school in Elizabeth because he's homeless?
That is correct, yes.
Can you explain that?
So the McKinney-Vento Act is what protects the students. So essentially there's a verification process that takes place. One of our attorneys, Mr. Vito Mazza, is the homeless liaison for the district. So in essence, when we have a student that is attending our schools and the documentation has been submitted indicates that the child is residing outside of Elizabeth, Mr. Mazza then meets with the guardian or with the parent and then is able to validate whether in fact the child is homeless. If the child is homeless, we are obligated to provide the education regardless of where the child is currently staying.
Thank you.
I can certainly provide the law itself, the McKinney-Vento Act, to all the board members, which essentially are the rules and regulations that we follow.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns for tab 3? Seeing none, hearing none, Mr. Kennedy, please put that on the agenda. Tab 4, which is excellence news. Put that on the agenda. Thank you. Tab 4A, considerations. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Mr. Kennedy, 4A on the agenda, please. Tab 4B, use of facilities. Questions or concerns? Mr. Cotto? Tab 4B, with the changes in the schools, with our 9th grade academies and the new schools that we have opened, have we had to cut down on our rentals?
Actually, we deal with them as buildings, in effect, even if the name changes, so it hasn't impacted that much. As I'm not aware of
I'm
any
only
impact.
saying, I received a concern from a group that was using one of our facilities, and I did explain that it was now a homeschool as opposed to one of our academies. So I was just wondering if any other groups.
We only have one of the schools that normally has a program that is a whole year, and then that entity could not use that gymnasium because of that program is usually related to that school.
Okay.
Because most of the students that go to that program are part of that school. So we had to do some shifting in there.
Thank you. Well, I think I speak for all the board members here. Our children come first, and they need to use our facilities first. Any questions, concerns? 4B? Seeing none, hearing none. Mr. Kennedy, please put that on the agenda. 4BB, use of facilities. Questions or concerns? Hearing none. Mr. Kennedy, please put that on the agenda. Tab 4C, field trips.
Thank you for administrators to put in 76 approved field trips so far.
Any questions or concerns for tab 4C for field trips? No. I have a question. Do we have a protocol for these field trips? And how we fund them and where we're going again? Let's just go back to it and dive right in.
Certainly, in working with both our assistant superintendents and also with Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Malhotra, as part of the 17-18 budget, what has been afforded to our schools at the high school level, 3 field trips are covered to support the visits to support college readiness. So those trips cover 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, and then at our K-8 schools in support of our AVID initiative, which ensures that students are conducting the appropriate field trips to the colleges and universities. Each K-8 school has also been afforded with the field trip cost being covered. So 1 trip for each and every K-8 school, and 3 field trips covered for our 7 high schools.
And including the busing?
The busing cost, absolutely. The cost for the bus are covered. Those expenses are part of our district budget.
Good job, Finance Committee. Moving on, I have a question. I see there's a lot of chaperones going on these trips. At least there's a few of them, and I understand the need for chaperones. I have gone on many trips myself, but as a parent, most of the trips that I went on, I paid. Are parents do they get their trips paid for? Are they allowed on the buses? Do they have to drive? How do we do this?
I'm going to answer that in two parts. With regard to the cost, there are times in which the individuals themselves are covering the cost to attend. There's other times as a result of fundraising activities in the schools, those costs are covered as a whole for the trips.
Do we have policy for non-parent, for someone who's not a parent?
Guardian.
And not a guardian?
Generally, it's the parent or guardian that participate in the field trip. Those are the protocols of the district.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, Mr. Kennedy, please place that on the agenda. It's all of 4C. 4D, it's HIB. Moving on to 4E. Tab 5, authorization to participate. Any questions or concerns? Questions or concerns? I wanted to ask a question about the butterfly garden and when that's going to start. Where is that? I don't know who's handling that. I know that that is groundwork.
That's Mr. Daniel.
But I'm very happy. You know that I'm the garden lady.
So we are having our first meeting on Monday the 16th at 10 o'clock with Groundworks in School 3 and School 26. And when I spoke to the representative, they mentioned that because of the winter coming, that it might be best to kind of start in the spring, but they had some ideas and projects that they can do with the children to build up. So we're going to be meeting on Monday to discuss those projects.
Thank you. And I also wanted to thank Groundworks for the 100 pumpkins and the 10 bales of hay that they donated. I know it's truly the little things that make a difference in our schools, so thank you. Any questions or concerns on tab 5? Hearing none, Mr. Kennedy, please place that on the agenda. Tab 5A. Questions or concerns for tab A? Hearing none, please, Mr. Kennedy. Tab 6, authorization to pay vouchers. Questions or concerns? Hearing none, seeing none. Mr. Kennedy, please place that on the agenda. Tab 7. Award of contracts. Mr. Candelino. Welcome aboard, Mr. Candelino.
So excited.
The winter athletic equipment, will this be the same company that we used last year? And I don't know if you know the answer, and I apologize if I'm putting you on the spot. Same company? Will we be taking a complete inventory of what we have and? Thank you, and welcome aboard, Mr. Candelino. Any other questions or concerns? I have one more. It's actually for Mr. Cotto. The company that is coming in to do our snow removal, this is for half of our schools? Because I can't imagine that that number's for all of our schools.
No, we do most of the schools. We have a handful of schools that are done by an outside vendor. So we have our own crew, and we supplement it with this vendor.
Does this include the salt, the ice melt? Does this include everything else that's going to be needed for this company to work, or do we incur that cost?
No, we have unit prices for salting also. So we need salting. This company will do it, and we have a unit price that was approved in the contract.
Separate from this one?
No, it's included here.
Included in this one?
Yes.
But-
And this is a not to exceed. This is, this will be 218 if we have like 6 major storms. So we kind of calculate the
Only
cost.
6,
But
right?
it's-
I'm gonna hold you to that. Mr. Kennedy
But,
said 6 storms.
But if there are 3, it will cost less. So it's a not to exceed, okay?
The salt, though, do we order it and?
No, we do all the salt for ourselves, but when they do it, they use their own salt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions or concerns?
Yes, Mrs. Carvalho, I have one.
Go for it.
Page 5. It's the first time we're using progressive therapy, isn't it, of New Jersey for our behavior assessments?
I will gladly refer that question to our Director of Special Services and certainly get back to you with a
Okay.
response.
Yeah, thank you.
We do. We have used them in the past. Okay. Dr. McMullen, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Please add that to the agenda. Tab 7. Any questions or concerns? John Marshall, number 20, building envelope.
What is that?
Yeah, can someone explain what
Can
that
someone
is?
please explain, Mr. Cotto? I'm sorry. Building envelope restoration?
What are we doing there?
What is that?
Well, we are doing, the lintels are the pieces of steel that are on top of the windows to hold the bricks that are above it. So those are the one protect the opening of each window. Those in School 20 are corroded, so that we're allowing intrusion of water into the building. So we had a major contract to really repair them all. During the process of repair, they found additional corrosion, additional damage that was not included in the specifications of his work. So we had to do an additional testing and kept going to make sure we located every area that was faulty so we can correct it. So in that case, there was a unit price included into the contract, but it's an additional, since it's an additional work, we got to compensate them for that additional work that they did.
All right.
And that includes all 4 sides of the school. So
Okay.
this school really badly needed it.
Thank you.
Aside from all the other work that's being done at that school. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Please put 7A on the agenda. 7B. Any questions or concerns for 7B, award of contracts report?
Yeah, I have a question. This is for Mr. Candelino, Director Candelino. The contract for repeat, is that, when would that be implemented?
Where are we?
The first page. Right? Yes.
And this would be a live feed for all our sports? Okay, just make sure that each student has, what is it called?
Yeah.
The media
Media
waiver?
Release form.
Yeah, make sure they have the media waiver, please.
I asked Mr. Candelino to provide a presentation next week at our board meeting, and to be able to share with everyone how the app works and the amazing features that it affords us.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns for 7B? Hearing none, please place that on the agenda. Tab 9. Current expenses. Questions, concerns? Hearing none, seeing none. Mr. Kennedy, please put that on the agenda. Tab 10. Resolution for National Parental Involvement Day. Tab 10A. Puerto Rican Heritage. 10B, Veterans Day. 10C, affirmative action officer for 2017-2018 school year. Any questions on concerns from tab 10, 10A, 10B, 10C? 10C, Mr. Cuesta. Is that you?
I'm sorry, 10C?
10C?
That is, well, I can answer. So as a district, we are required to have an affirmative action officer. Each year, we pass a resolution appointing the affirmative action officer, who is Pete Vossler.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood.
Thank you. Any questions or
Certainly.
concerns?
Yeah, I have a question on 10E, because I'm not very versed on this, but...
D?
No, 10E as in Edward.
We're not there yet.
Oh.
Any questions or concerns? 10 to 10C. Hearing none, Mr. Kennedy, please place those on the agenda. 10D and 10E, questions or concerns?
I have a question 10E,
Board member?
and maybe Assistant Superintendent Cuesta could answer this. Is there a limit of how much we could pay out in regards to sick days? Like a dollar amount? I thought it was a state law that you couldn't pass a certain threshold.
Yeah, there's a limit as to how many days a person can compensate for.
All right, because I see some high numbers here. I see some high numbers here, that's why.
Mr. Kennedy?
Some of them are, there was a grandfather date, so if you had days earned that were more than 15,000 prior to the grandfather date, it was June of 2011, I believe, then you didn't lose the payment on those vacation or sick days, but anything subsequent to that couldn't be more than the 15,000.
Okay, thank you.
And we've checked these names.
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet that calculates
Thank you,
them.
Mr. Kennedy. Please place that on the agenda. 10F, 10G, 10H. Any questions or concerns from the board members? Hearing none, seeing none, please place them on the agenda. 10I, anti-litter campaign. Questions or concerns? Looking forward for that to pass. At this time, no questions. Mr. Kennedy, please place that on the agenda. At this time, if any board member has any questions of our directors, please feel free to ask.
We have policies also that are going to be.
I would like to ask a question of Director Levitt. Could you please explain our policy on water for the children?
Thank you. What we do, we supply water as needed to the students of our district. When it's requested at a particular school, we can get it daily and deliver it to whoever needs it, free of charge.
As requested?
Yes,
Okay, so we know it's going to be hot tomorrow.
right. So we'll order enough water. If it's not on hand, we get it from a milk company that delivers it. We get deliveries daily, and then we'll supply the classrooms bottled water.
So we know when the weather's going to be hot. Do we have reserve? Are they ready? Do we have coolers to send out? Is Plant and Property ready with the vehicles to pick up, drop off?
We don't really rely on Plant and Property unless it's an immediate emergency where we have an excess storage at the high school at Dwyer Kitchen. But we try to get it delivered to each school to expedite the process.
Were coolers delivered to the schools last week?
I don't know if they were delivered. Most schools have coolers on hand for field trips.
Who's responsible to make sure that task is done?
The cook manager at each school.
Is there a way that we can find out
I mean, we know. I can ask Siri or Google, is it going to be hot tomorrow? How do we know that the water's there and the children are going to get it if they need it?
It's just, it's an everyday process. I mean, it's just circumstances. We just do it. And if we have a problem, like if there's not enough, and I can get it from another school and have it delivered.
Thank you. I'm sure you received a lot of complaints.
No, not really.
No. Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Vice President, I'm going to actually pose a question. How do you, is there the program, like an after-school program that's like a fruit and veg? Can you, I know it's not here, but it was posed this week to me, and I wasn't sure. And since you're here with us, like an after-school fruit program, can you,
Yes.
how, fruits and vegetables? Oh.
Fresh fruits, yeah, and school.
Oh.
So I think this year we have 11 schools that were approved. And it's for, it can't be served at breakfast or lunch, but it has to be during the school day.
So it doesn't precisely have to be just for after school?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just making sure, because, thank you.
Oh, so it could be, it's during the day that they're?
Yes, it has to be during the school day.
Yes.
And
But you might also be thinking we also have an after-school meal program for students that stay after school for whatever reason.
Oh, okay, that must have been the program. And then one more question.
Yes.
How do you, what's the ratio of like kitchen help? Like in schools, do you, maybe it's like a long conversation, like, you know, do you see what I'm trying to ask?
Yes, it really depends on the school and the scenario at each school, how big it is, how many lunch periods they have. And there's also a formula that we can use called meals per labor hour.
Oh, that's how you distinguish, like there's going to be, in school 16, there'll be, you know, 5 people in the kitchen, or that's how you?
Generally, that's what I do. That's what I
formula?
use, that formula.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Glacken, we are into school now and almost end of October. Just wanted to know how we're doing with our security
So
team.
far, so good.
Good answer, Mr. Glacken. Just want you to know that we look forward to sitting down with you and working on the, what are we gonna?
The app.
The app for the security. Hopefully, we can get that taken care of, working with our IT department. That is very important. It
I'll
is
speak
on our
with
radar.
Mario about
Yes.
the vendors.
Yes, we need to get that taken care of yesterday. In the world that we're living in today, we can't wait another moment to look into that and have it handled. Please.
Not a problem.
I only have one more question, and it's Mr. Reggio. So we figured out a formula, but now I want to know how this is going to affect your budget.
I'm not quite sure yet either.
So it's actually not coming out of Mr. Reggio's budget. It's actually a separate allocation from the business office that has been dedicated to covering the transportation costs. So it's not actually impacting Mr. Reggio's budget directly. Hence his response.
Right, well, my concern is if it affects his budget, it affects our teachers, and it affects who's teaching our classrooms, so that scares me. So could you explain a little bit, Mr. Malhotra?
Keep moving the microphone down.
Yeah, I'm moving it down.
Coming down the line.
Because I'm concerned. As much as I want everyone to go on a class trip, need to make sure we have teachers in the classroom.
What we did was we did an analysis of what some of the school trips were, and as Superintendent Hugemar mentioned, that We have, 3 for the high schools to go to colleges. So we took a look at some of the trips that were also available, like, going from, let's say, school 12 to school 22. If they're just going within schools, the district's going to cover it. And it's overtime that it affects. So we have some money on the side for overtime, and we'll cover that cost. But if it's a trip to Great Adventure, then it's going through a student activity, and those are trips that, I guess, historically have been paid by student activity or the PTO, and they'll continue to do so.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you for all of your hard work. Ms. Ford, last one, I promise. I'd like to know where we are with the children who live out of district and are trying to come to our wonderful schools.
Can't reach it.
She'll take,
Love these
Hello?
mics.
Okay, got it.
She has an old one.
Oh, yeah. So, thankfully, the answer to your question is not just one answer. We've narrowed down some of the issues with the out-of-district problem. Some of it is as simple as mail getting to students. So there were some students who were flagged as possibly living out of district by the schools, which is their obligation to do, and we want to continue to do that to make sure our class sizes are appropriate. And some of these students were flagged, and in doing some investigation within the legal department, we discovered that it was something as small as perhaps a mailing issue. So we have maybe perhaps not an apartment number on some of the mailings, so when it's being returned to us, we're saying this student doesn't live there, when after further investigation, we're discovering that they do. So thankfully, we have investigators within our department that are able to do that. So we have the legwork. We also we've cut down on several, we do have students who came into our office and met with Vito Mazza, who's handling the residency, and have discovered that they don't live out of district, and they've since left. Our numbers are lessening. We did at one point think that there were hundreds of students that were possibly living out of the district. That's absolutely not the case. And we're, at this point, at a very low number where we've provided initial letters, and there's a process. So parents obviously can meet with can dispute if we believe that they do live out of district. They have the opportunity to provide documentation proving that they do. And they're all, legally, they're given a certain number of days, which even after that, if we've given them a final determination, they still have the opportunity to have a hearing before the board and explain reasons why and provide more information. So there are several steps involved where it's not just us as the end-all and be-all. Parents are given that opportunity to prove otherwise. But the numbers are certainly not as was thought of years ago or months ago. The numbers are down drastically. So that's really good for our district and probably very comforting to the parents in the district, with the thought of several students in our classrooms who shouldn't be.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
How many investigators do we have?
We have investigators that are, we have one investigator currently handling the residency. We have 2 other investigators who handle several matters of the district, whether it be student involved with students, involved with teachers. We have 2. Then we have our head of our investigators. Obviously, I wasn't counting Mr. Escorbano in the 2, but he is the director of them. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, can you just explain what the hold place for winter sports athletic equipment and supply is?
Yes, we need to put on the agenda the contract for the winter athletic supplies, but it hasn't been formalized yet, so that's what that means.
For next week?
Yes.
So do we need to?
It's going to be a resolution presented to the board approving the form of contract for that.
Okay, thank you. If you could also put on the agenda the first reading of the following revised policies in new exhibit. Transportation safety. Do I have to read?
Okay, transportation safety. Transportation safety student bus information card. Emergency and disaster preparedness. Intramural competitions, interscholastic competitions. Additional policies. Local wellness nutrition. Wellness nutrition summary chart. Additional policies, data dashboard, policy, and data dashboard.
And that will be on for first reading next Thursday.
That'll all be on for first reading for next Thursday.
With regard to the data dashboard, and I understand that next Thursday will serve as the first reading of the policy. However, I wanted the opportunity to be able to provide a presentation to the board as it relates to our promised goals, which are now embedded in this revised policy, to provide an update with regard to graduation rates, with regard to AP enrollment, and a series of other indicators that would serve as an update for this time of the year.
At this time, I'd like to thank each and every one of our directors for coming tonight. I'm requesting a motion to go into private session to consider matters exempt under the Open Public Meeting Act, specifically to discuss personnel, specifically supplemental personnel reports, salary revisions, and appointments, legal settlement agreements, SF, DL, CW, WP, KM, workers' compensation claims, specifically GM, SM, and SW. The board will reconvene in public to take formal action. Thank
Motion
you,
to go to
directors.
private.
Motion
Second.
has been motioned and properly seconded. Thank you, directors. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, directors.
Thank you.
Let me take the roll call.
Oh, sorry.
Carvalho, oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Gonzalez, Nina,
Yes.
Carvalho,
Yes.
Barbosa.
Yes.
Who does nursing? I can do that. The slips are falling behind because they send it to the one doctor who has partners. Send it out. Get these kids, give me the call. Not 2 weeks into their season.
No.
That's a problem.
Is that really happening?
Yes.